I overheard my wife of 6 years telling her sister, "He's the dumbest man I've ever met. I can get angry over nothing and he'll apologize for hours." Then I discovered she was planning to frame me for cheating so she could take the house. Hello, Reddit I plus here. I honestly don't know if I'm looking for advice anymore or if I just need to get this off my chest. I'm a 35-year-old man. My ex-wife is 34. We were together for almost 8 years and married for 6. Until recently, I would have told anyone we had a happy marriage. Looking back, I was living in a fantasy. Everyone used to joke that I apologized too much. If she was upset, I assumed I had done something wrong. If dinner wasn't what she wanted, I'd apologize. If traffic ruined our date night, I'd apologize. If she had a bad day at work, somehow I found myself saying sorry for existing. I thought that's what being a supportive husband looked like. Turns out I was just easy to manipulate. Everything unraveled last spring. I was supposed to be away on a 4-day business conference, but halfway through the trip, I came down with a terrible fever. My manager told me to head home and recover instead of trying to tough it out. I didn't tell my wife because I wanted to surprise her. That decision changed my life. When I got to our neighborhood, a landscaping truck was blocking the driveway, so I parked on the next street and walked home through the backyard gate. As I stepped inside through the laundry room, I heard voices coming from the kitchen. My wife was laughing. She had her older sister on speakerphone. I was about to announce myself when I heard my own name. Then I heard the sentence I'll never forget. "He seriously believes everything I tell him. He's the easiest man I've ever controlled." Both women burst into laughter. I froze. Her sister asked, "You're actually going through with it?" "Of course," my wife replied. "I've been planning this for months." "What if he catches on?" "He won't. He apologizes before I even finish accusing him." They laughed again. I felt sick. Then she explained the entire plan. She was going to accuse me of sleeping with one of my coworkers. She had already bought a bottle of expensive women's perfume. She planned to spray it on one of my jackets, hide a pair of earrings in my SUV, cry, until I admitted I must have emotionally neglected her, then demand a separation. While I was busy trying to save the marriage, she'd quietly move in with another man she'd been seeing for months. After that, she'd file for divorce and ask for the house, our savings, my retirement account, and spousal support. Her exact words were, "I don't even need proof. I just need him to start apologizing. Once he says sorry, I'll tell the court he admitted guilt." Her sister laughed so hard she nearly choked. "What if he actually fights back this time?" "He won't," my wife answered confidently. "I got him to apologize because I burned dinner. I got him to apologize because I forgot our anniversary. I got him to apologize because I was in a bad mood after shopping. He'll roll over like always." I stood there listening to the woman I loved describe me like I was a trained pet. Then she said something that hurt even more. "The guy I'm seeing already talked to his lawyer. Once this is over, we'll finally be together." That was when I quietly backed out of the house. She never knew I'd been there. I got back into my car and drove straight to a hotel. On the way, I texted her. "Flight got delayed. I'll be home Friday instead." She replied almost instantly, "I miss you already. Love you." Reading that text nearly made me throw my phone out the window. Instead of crying, I started making phone calls. The first call was to the attorney who had handled my late grandmother's estate. A little background. My grandparents raised me after my parents died when I was a teenager. When my grandmother passed away 5 years before my wedding, she left me a sizable inheritance. It wasn't just money. It included investment accounts, rental properties, and the house we were living in. Legally, every bit of it remained separate property. Before I got married, my attorney insisted on a prenup. My wife barely skimmed it before signing. She joked that she'd never need it because we'd be together forever. One clause was crystal clear. If either spouse committed adultery, they forfeited any claim to the other's separate assets. Apparently, she'd forgotten that little detail. My attorney certainly hadn't. His first question was simple. "Can you prove she's cheating?" "I think I can." Within an hour, he'd connected me with a private investigator. The investigator started surveillance the very next morning. He only needed 48 hours. The evidence was overwhelming. The same man visited my house repeatedly while I was supposedly out of town. They kissed outside, they held hands, they went out to dinner. Then there were photos of him spending entire afternoons inside my home while the curtains stayed shut. There wasn't much left to imagine. The investigator also uncovered something unexpected. The man wasn't single, he'd been married for 11 years. His wife had absolutely no idea. That changed everything. When Friday evening arrived, I walked through my front door exactly when my wife expected me. She came running over and hugged me. "I missed you so much." I almost laughed. Instead, I hugged her back. Then she began her performance. She looked nervous. "I found something while doing laundry." She disappeared into the bedroom and returned holding one of my jackets. There was women's perfume all over it. Her eyes filled with perfectly timed tears. "I just need you to be honest." I calmly asked one question. "Before we do this, can we sit down?" She smiled. She thought she'd already won. We sat across from each other in the living room. I slid a thick folder onto the coffee table. Open it. She frowned. Inside were dozens of photographs, private investigator reports, phone records, hotel receipts, screenshots, timeline summaries, a highlighted copy of our prenup, copies of the property deeds, bank documents showing the inheritance had never become marital property. Every page made her face a little paler. Finally, she whispered, "What is all this?" I looked directly at her. "I came home 3 days early." Silence. "I heard every word you said to your sister." Her mouth literally fell open. I continued, "I know about your boyfriend. I know about your plan. I know about the fake evidencer. I know you intended to accuse me of cheating. I know you wanted everything I own." She tried speaking, but nothing came out. Then she did exactly what I expected. She started crying. "I'm sorry." "No," I said. "You're sorry you failed." That was the first time in years I didn't apologize. She reached for my hand. I moved it away. "My attorney filed this morning. You violated the infidelity clause. The house isn't marital property. My inheritance isn't marital property. The investments aren't marital property. The accounts have already been frozen pending the divorce. You have until tomorrow afternoon to remove your personal belongings." She stared at me in disbelief. "You can't do this." I already did. Then came the question that almost made me laugh. "Where am I supposed to live?" I shrugged. "I assume with your boyfriend." The color drained from her face. Apparently, he hadn't offered. She spent the next hour cycling through every emotion imaginable: anger, begging, blaming me, saying I invaded her privacy by overhearing her conversation, claiming it was all a joke, insisting the investigator misunderstood, then insisting the affair wasn't physical, then saying the affair only happened because she felt neglected. My answer never changed. "You should probably start packing." She called her sister at least 15 times. No answer. Apparently, her sister didn't want to get involved anymore. The following afternoon, she loaded her belongings into a rented moving truck. The best part came completely by accident. The private investigator had already contacted the other man's wife. She showed up while my ex was carrying boxes outside. There was no screaming, no fistfight, no dramatic scene. The other wife simply walked over, looked my ex straight in the eyes, and said, "You ruined 2 marriages." Then she handed my ex a small cardboard box. Inside were photos of my ex and her husband together. "I won't be needing these anymore." She turned around and walked away. It was somehow even more devastating than yelling would have been. Within a month, everything collapsed for my ex. Her boyfriend left because his own divorce became expensive. Her sister stopped taking her calls after learning she might be subpoenaed. Most of the friends who encouraged the affair disappeared. The divorce finalized far quicker than anyone expected because the evidence was overwhelming. She left with her clothes, her personal belongings, and the used sedan she'd owned before our marriage. That was it. A few weeks ago, she sent me a long email saying she'd made a series of mistakes and asking if we could meet for closure. I deleted it without replying. For years, I believed loving someone meant constantly apologizing. Now I know there's a huge difference between kindness and allowing yourself to be manipulated. I still believe in love. I just finally learned that self-respect has to come first. So, Reddit I+ audience. Was I wrong for quietly gathering evidence instead of confronting her the moment I overheard everything?